Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Confused as to why so many on Wall Street keep telling you how much they hate annuities? Well, stay tuned as I share with you the truth about modern-day annuities and why I love annuities and you should too, Part 2.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
One of the more interesting things about us humans is how easily swayed we are by others, people who appear, with great confidence mind you, to come across about a given subject matter as knowing more about it than we do, even if the person attempting to sway us really knows very little about what he or she is talking about. Rather than trying to figure out why we are so easily distracted by the swayers of opinions on things they know nothing about, can anyone say annuities? The real issue is this: why in the world are these people so heck bent on swaying us to their side in the first place? Well, to understand why so many investors on Wall Street hate annuities and feel you should too, one only has to understand this simple truth. Those on Wall Street who hate annuities are not savers, but rather investors, which is where the rub really begins. Annuities are not built for investors, but created for the hearts and minds of savers. Savers who don't like taking a lot of risk and are satisfied with modest rates of return in exchange for the protection of their money. Which is why today we begin part 2 of why I love annuities and you should too. Well, welcome folks to the WorryFree Retirement, and yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, the annuity king himself and fiduciary, something we're going to talk about later in the show, Tony Walker. And before we get started, let me introduce 3 folks in the WorryFree production studios who never lose focus on the production of this show each week. America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander, Louisville, Kentucky's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson, and our associate producer, Miss Meek and Mild, Mary Beth Combs. Okay, before I tell you why I love annuities and you should too, let's be sure that those of you watching this program today are savers and not investors. Because if you're not a saver, chances are you're going to be in agreement with this guy and not in agreement with what I'm about to teach you. So, in order not to waste the time of any investors watching this show, let's first confirm if you're a saver or an investor with this little 2-question quiz. You ready? Okay, question number 1. If given 2 options to invest your life savings in the first option, which is a guaranteed return of 3% and would pay you 3% for the rest of your life, that's option A, or you could invest your life savings in an investment that over the long term has averaged 10% on your money, but could go down in value at any time, which would you choose, A or B? All right, hold on. Here's the second question. Assuming you are getting ready for bed at night and there was the remote possibility that when you wake up the next morning, that your 401k could be down as much as 20% in value, how would you feel when you woke up the next morning, and what would your reaction be to finding out that your money was dropping like a rock? A, get your money immediately out of there and move it to safer territory. Or B, would you see the 20% loss in value as an opportunity to even buy more stocks? Well, if you answered A to both questions, there's a very good chance that you are a saver and you need to keep watching this program today. Now, on the other hand, if you answered B to both questions, you're probably an investor or a speculator, which means that you can go ahead, turn the channel, and see how the futures market is doing over on that other channel. So now that we have all of you savers ready to learn the truth about annuities, you're going to want to stay tuned as we cover part 2 of our series, Why I Love Annuities and You Should Too. I'm Tony Walker. You're watching the WorryFree Retirement. We'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Our Live Well, Die Broke moment actually features one of my favorite sons, and that's Philip. He likes to go by Phil. But anyways, you'll notice he's holding a disc for disc golf. He's really good at it. Now, as many of you know, I'm kind of into ball golf, especially in inclement weather. So why are we featuring the Live Well, Die Broke moment? Well, Tony Walker Financial is the proud sponsor of a course in Bowling Green, Kentucky, Buchanan Park, of a disc golf course we've recently revitalized. A gentleman by the name of H.B. Clark that specializes in this has done a great job. You can see these new extended tee pads. We've also got a cool island green that we've created. And is there any other pictures, Derek? I think that's it. Okay, so anyway, happy to do that. Tony Walker Financial sponsored that. And just one more way, hopefully, we are kind of improving the lives of disc golfers everywhere. All right, now let's get to our Tony in the Trenches. Here's a good one. It says, I know you guys talk a lot about how important it is to get everything under one roof and organized. Why is that? And do you have proof of Tony Walker Financial's commitment to help people get organized? And actually we do. A couple of these quotes came from Trey Jurgens as he was sharing our binders with several of our new clients. This one came from Tina. She says, well, if this isn't the niftiest little binder, for once in my life, I'll be organized. Another great compliment came to us from Janelle. It says, throughout the process, there were so many accounts moved and money transferred. She's talking about our process when we move money over to Tony Walker Financial. But seeing the attention to detail in this final binder just confirms that your staff sure knows what they're doing. For once, I love this, our accounts seem organized and looked after. So yes, folks, at Tony Walker Financial, our goal is first to get you organized, set up the written game plan so you can monitor your progress and enjoy your money. All right, so let's get back to the subject at hand. Why would two advisors be so different in their opinions about the same product, that being annuities? Why would one advisor say they hate annuities, and then you got this little man in a sweater vest who says he loves them? Again, you need to look no further than the personality of the advisor. You see, the one advisor is an investor, which is fine, while the other advisor in the little sweater vest is hardwired for safety and thus is a saver. It's that simple. And as such, as a saver, I hate losing money, or at least investing in things that I know can go down very drastically in value. This is why I love annuities. You see, one can argue till the cows come home that annuities are bad, but at some point, you need to prove why you think they're bad. Well, I know this. After being in the financial world for 38 years, here's what I've learned about working in both the investment world and the insurance world. We have nearly 3,000 annuities that I've personally sold, totaling over $500 million. And of those premiums, those 3,000 annuities, none of those annuities has lost value or money due to a stock market loss or the bonds going down. Zero. So, assuming you hate losing money, why would you not at least consider annuities, especially if you're a saver who hates losing money? So, how can insurance companies do this? How can they sell annuities and guarantee you won't lose money due to the stock and bond market crashing? Well, there's two ways they accomplish this. One, through science, and two, by investing the money you give them into safe investments. That's it. That's the secret sauce to keeping your money safe and providing you an opportunity to purchase a product that will provide an income guaranteed that you can never outlive. So let's look at the first element of the insurance companies we call science, and this is somebody that's employed by the insurance company called an actuary. Incidentally, I'm working on a personal project whereby I have contracted and hired an actuary who over the past 5 years has been helping me diligently develop a product that's unlike anything out there. As a result, my respect for actuaries and how they work to make sure that numbers work out and money is safe is through the roof. So let's define exactly what an actuary is. Basically, it's a business professional who analyzes the financial consequences of risk. Actuaries use science, they use mathematics, they use statistics and financial theories to study uncertain future events, especially those concerned about insurance programs and, yes, even pension programs. Their job is to assure that the company is not taking too much risk with your money, that the insurance company also makes money on your money, and that by using statistics, math, science, they can assure that those savers out there who are guaranteeing their money with the insurance companies will get a decent rate of return. This is something that Wall Street cannot guarantee, nor even banks can guarantee, because they do not employ actuaries. So how does the insurance company make money while still guaranteeing your money is safe and secure? How are they going to be able to do that? And then how do they determine how much money they'll pay you in return? Well, when I return, we'll explore exactly how they make money and why Wall Street and the banks cannot do what insurance companies can. I'm Tony Walker. You're watching The Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back. Wondering how annuity peddlers can offer bonuses of up to 15 or even 20% on your money? Well, as the old saying goes, if it sounds too good to be true, there's always a catch. Here's my thoughts. Don't get stuck in the wrong annuity. Get a free second opinion from one of the leading writers of annuities in the country, Tony Walker Financial. To get started, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call 877-499-WALK. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Last week we talked with our own Connie Fortney about the issuance of annuities and her role there for new business and how long she's been with Tony Walker Financial. Next in line, our next longest tenured employee, someone who's been with me over 16 years, fellow fiduciary, Miss Heather Hughes. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning, Tony.
Well, thanks for joining us. And today I want you to share with our viewing audience and those on the radio program a little bit about your role at Tony Walker Financial in terms of the annuities we offer.
Yes, of course, I wear many hats around here, but one of the first things that I started learning when I came on board was researching annuities. And what that means is really kind of learning the ins and outs, how each individual contract works. That was all prompted in about 2007 with the introduction of income riders to annuities. So that really changed the game as far as the annuity market goes.
Well, that was a game changer. So what do you see as one of the biggest frustrations in our business when it comes to annuities?
You know, the annuities are not one size fits all. And we'll see a lot of clients or potential clients that come in who have purchased annuities and really had no game plan or understanding of what they had purchased. And that's very frustrating for us because we do our due diligence on trying to pick the correct contract for each individual situation and work that into a game plan that they can use in retirement.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I had a client come in the other day, a prospective client who's kind of shopping around for annuities and met with somebody who immediately just started pitching one annuity and said, I felt like I was meeting with a used car salesman. So anyway, over the years, in meeting with so many people who are either thinking of doing business with Tony Walker Financial, or maybe those who have an existing annuity with us, what has been the most rewarding part of your job in this role of annuity specialist?
Oh, I love seeing people meet their goals in retirement. It's very fulfilling. I get a question a lot on, people will activate their lifetime income or mailbox money. And they're like, well, okay, how long is this going to last? And I said, well, your lifetime. And they're like, yeah, but how many years is that going to be? I'm like, well, I don't know how long you're going to live, but as long as you're alive, that's coming to you. I think one thing that people need to take into consideration when they are purchasing an annuity, look at it as going into a relationship with someone, because whoever is selling you that annuity should be obligated to kind of see you through that and guide you on how to use it best.
Oh, that was well said. So, Heather, thank you for all you do for our clients. And in the meantime, you make it a good day.
Thanks. You too, Tony.
Our second Tony in the Trenches today comes to us, well, pretty much once a week when people ask something like this. Tony, you're always talking about annuities and who to purchase them from, and don't buy an annuity unless they are a fiduciary. So how can I find out if someone is a fiduciary? Well, there's a couple things you can do here. So you have to understand something. Advisors are regulated if they're under $100 million in assets under management by the state securities departments. We used to be under this particular department. We've gone over 100 million, so now we fall under the SEC. But basically, you could call this number, this is the office in Frankfurt, and basically provide the name of the advisor and possibly their firm to see if they are registered investment advisors or what we refer to as fiduciaries. Now, I know we have some viewers up and listeners up in the Indiana area. We didn't have an exact phone number, but there's their website. I'm sure they'd be happy to help you to determine if an advisor who is selling you an annuity is registered with these government organizations. So you say, well, why is this so important? Well, I would assume if you've got two options, one, you can purchase an annuity from someone who is required by law, that's what a fiduciary is, to work in your best interest, versus buying an annuity from somebody who isn't. I'm assuming you'd probably rather buy an annuity from someone who is required by law to work in your best interest. Just a thought. Okay. Before we understand how these actuaries we talked about in the last segment, who are employed by insurance companies, can help us and the insurance company make money while keeping our money safe, I want to take a few minutes just to try to help educate you on the basics of insurance companies and how they make money on our money, while at the same time protecting our money so they can provide back to us a decent rate of return. So let's go to the whiteboard, and I'll try not to make this too confusing, but basically, insurance companies. Now, this is going to throw you off what I'm about to say. The main asset of an insurance company, in terms of when you turn over your money to them, they're investing mainly in bonds, government bonds, corporate bonds, and mortgages, long-term mortgages. So you might say, Tony, this makes no sense because I've heard you say before, as we record this show in October of 2022, the bond market has collapsed. I mean, people are losing money hand over fist, because as interest rates go up, bonds go down. Well, you have to understand something. When an insurance company issues an annuity contract, okay, they might have, wouldn't even want to tell you, depends on the number of bonds, but an insurance company could have literally hundreds of different bonds with varying maturities that are supporting, remember, an annuity is a contract, okay? An annuity is technically not an investment. You're not investing in bonds. You're investing in an obligation or a contract called an annuity that the insurance company then goes out and purchases all of these bonds. So these bonds, let's say over time, the bonds, the mortgages, what the actuaries determine, let's say maybe their overall portfolio that the insurance company is making on your money is a 6% rate of return. So they've got hundreds of millions of dollars, and they've got actuaries trying to determine when people are going to die and how long they're going to live. Again, there's a lot of science, as we talked about earlier, that backs up these annuity contracts. In addition, we mentioned the Department of Financial Securities that regulates investment advisors. Then you've also got Department of Insurances who state by state oversee these insurance companies to make sure that they have plenty of what's called reserves. Again, folks, insurance companies aren't like banks. They're not borrowing money just to be loaning it out to more and more people through the fractional reserve. Insurance companies have to keep large reserves on hand so they can fulfill these obligations or these contracts. That's where you're going to get your money from. You want to make sure that insurance company has plenty of money on the sidelines with which to pay you, eventually probably, your mailbox money, assuming you have an annuity that pays mailbox money. So you say, okay, well, they make 6%, Tony. I just met with somebody the other day, and partner, they're going to pay me a 20% bonus, the insurance company. How in the world can they afford that when they're only making 6%? Well, folks, that's why, as Heather Hughes mentioned earlier, you've got to understand these contracts. There's multitudes and multitudes of contracts. For instance, this 20% bonus product, which we offer and use on occasion, we've got to remember they may only be guaranteed to pay you 0.25% for the next 10 or 15 years. They don't have to pay you anything close to the 6% they're earning. There's also surrender charges with annuities. There's bonuses that are not vested until well into the future, so you could lose those bonuses. So in its simplest form, you have to understand this. Most insurance companies are all making about the same amounts of money on your money. So what they have to do, they might take what's called a spread, okay? That's their profit. So that leaves you, let's say the consumer, with 4% return, which right now, it's kind of ironic. We have a lot of short-term, what's called multi-year guaranteed annuities, again, as of the date of this recording, they're paying anywhere from 4 to 5% guaranteed, but only for a certain period of time. Well, why do they do that? Because they have to tie that to their overall portfolio. So you might be saying, Tony, this is way over my head. I don't understand all this. Well, that's why, folks, you need to work with a trained retirement specialist, not only who's a saver, is not an investor, but is trying to understand protection, how to mitigate risk, how to use these actuaries employed by insurance companies to be on your side so we can make sure this money is safe and secure for your future. So before you rush out and buy an annuity, or maybe you've been thinking about buying an annuity, or maybe you're tired of hearing all the people on Wall Street talk about how much they hate them, why don't you talk to somebody who knows a thing or two about annuities? And that's us at Tony Walker Financial. In fact, right now, why don't you log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started button, or if you'd just like to have a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call with myself to learn more about annuities, just call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, what does the Bible have to say about the naysayers out there and the Debbie Downers? And what did Jesus say was the most important thing to do each morning? The answer will surprise you. Let me get a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. Are you retired or retiring soon? Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all of our latest educational content and previous shows of the WorryFree Retirement. Just log on to youtube.com and search Tony Walker Financial. Whether it's someone on Wall Street trying to sway savers away from the safety and security that comes with owning annuities, or the religious folks of the world trying to convince freedom-loving Christians to leave the fellowship of Jesus and turn back to the old ways of man and regulations, it's interesting that the Bible warns against such things as how we handle money and the wisdom that comes with handling it properly. There's a multitude of verses on this, some of which can be found in the book of Proverbs. Wisdom that allows us to think for ourselves and know we can always turn to God for guidance. I would summarize these verses of wisdom on money this way: a fool and his money are soon departed. You see, the key is to stay focused on the truth and watch out for the joy robbers of the day. Jesus shares an example of doing just that and how we might remain close to the wisdom he offers, where we pick up this exchange found in John chapter 21 and verse 3, where Peter and his buddies are floundering around in a little boat, having zero luck catching fish, when all of a sudden, an unrecognizable man on the shoreline asks if they're having any luck catching fish, which they say no. The man then tells them to cast their net in a different direction, and voila, the hapless fishermen quickly scoop up over 150 large fish and head back to shore. In the meantime, the stranger, who has already started a fire to cook up the fish, talking about confidence in a bunch of hapless fishermen, then does something surprising. Instead of Jesus cooking up a good sermon or reminding his disciples of his many miracles, the next words out of his mouth are those in 21:12 where he simply says, "Come and let's have breakfast." Now, as someone who loves breakfast, particularly bacon, which I know in those days was frowned upon, to me there's nothing better in the morning than a big old breakfast. But as much as I love enjoying my mom's expensive bacon and eggs, this breakfast described in John 21 was no ordinary breakfast. In fact, the exchange that would quickly take place during this festive occasion came from the king of joy robbers, Peter himself, when out of the blue he asked Jesus why one of the disciples that recently had sold Jesus out was still hanging around. To which Jesus replies with the greatest comebacker of them all, "What concern is that of yours?" Or as my granddad used to say, "None of your business." You know, it's true. Whenever God is working in our midst, there will always be that moment that you, me, or someone else will try to find fault in something or someone else and rob everyone's fun and joy by questioning God in matters that are, well, none of our business. So assuming you're human and tend to stick your nose into the things of God instead of enjoying having breakfast and fellowship with Him, how do we keep from allowing others to rob our joy and spoil the freedom we have to dine with this man Jesus and with other believers? Yes, even if it's just a simple breakfast. Well, the late great theologian Charles Spurgeon sums up this verse in the following manner. Christians may differ on a variety of points, but they all have one spiritual appetite. And if we cannot all feel alike, we can all feed alike on the bread of life sent down from heaven. He goes on to say this wonderful truth about us getting along with one another in this manner. If we were nearer to Jesus, we would be nearer to one another. To which I would say, amen. And maybe that's you right now. Maybe you're wondering why you are so easily swayed by the joy robbers of the world to do the things you know you really shouldn't do or be thinking about the things you shouldn't be thinking about. If so, maybe try this. Sit down and have breakfast with Jesus each morning. Instead of quickly grabbing the food of the world, satisfy your soul's appetite by feasting on the Word of God found in your Bible. Start with the book of John and feast upon the wonderful truths it contains, and I assure you, the food it will give you will feed you for a lifetime. And that's some good news you can take to the bank. Well, speaking of dining with those who care about you, I've got a question for you. Do those same people who keep telling you what to do and where to invest your money really and truly have your best interest at heart? Or do they just smell money and will do anything they can to get it? Start by talking to me, Tony Walker. That's right, the owner of the company with over 38 years of experience, over 3,000 clients, and someone who has overseen more than 5,000 written game plans. A fiduciary who has your best interest at heart and would love to talk to you in person. Now, it starts this way. It starts with what we call the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. And all you got to do to get started is go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. You're going to click on that little Let's Get Started button, and we will take it from there. Now, by the way, if the internet's not your thing and you still want to set up a phone call to meet with me over the phone, just call the toll-free number on your screen. Then, after we talk by phone, if it warrants, I'll be happy to meet with you in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. Oh, and by the way, next week, an exciting guest. 2 years ago, we had Pastor Bob Russell on our show. He's going to be back for a wonderful Thanksgiving message of encouragement. You're not going to want to miss that. But between now and then, you remember, if all else fails, you be worry-free.